Welcome back to another episode of ICU. I am flying solo today, and it's crazy because this is my first solo episode of season 3, and it is also going to be the last solo episode of season 3, and technically the last episode because I am going to be taking a break for the summer and hopefully coming back with season 4 in the fall. So stay tuned on that. But I wanted to give you all an update on how my IC journey has been going, because I was reflecting recently and I haven't shared a whole lot about my IC journey in a while. I mean, I did share my story in one of the first few episodes back when I was just coming out with this podcast. So in season 1, I shared my story, but back then my symptoms really weren't managed. So if you listen to that and you're like, Callie, you said you had symptoms still when you recorded that. Well, I really don't have symptoms anymore. I don't consider myself to be in remission because I do, well, let's say it like this. If I have a really stressful day or a really stressful moment, that still is a trigger for my symptoms. And I really do believe that it's because when my nervous system goes into fight or flight, I tend to hold my tension in my pelvic floor. So I'm tensing my pelvic floor muscles, and that contributes to pelvic floor dysfunction and in turn can cause bladder pain. For me, I don't really experience frequency and urgency. My main symptom is that burning type pain that happens before, during, and immediately following urination and getting some of those spasms. So that's really the only instance where I experience symptoms anymore, but I've been on a journey to really regulate my nervous system over the past year or so, and I'm getting better. I'm not fully regulated yet because I believe my nervous system has been in fight or flight ever since I was a kid. I've always been high anxiety. I've struggled with IC and IBS. Recently self-diagnosed with OCD. My therapists, plural, we'll get into that, they also support that self-diagnosis. So there's a lot going on in terms of mental health. There's a lot going on, or there has been in my life, a lot going on with my bladder and my bowel and, all that fun stuff. But to give you that update, that's kind of where I'm at. I always tell people I'm 98% symptom free because there's always that little chance that there is a flare up. But my IC no longer rules my life. I travel a lot. And, I used to have flare-ups when I was on vacation or traveling somewhere, but I no longer do. I'm completely symptom-free when I'm traveling. Now, do I take precautions when I travel? Yeah, I'm gonna hydrate as best I can. I have Xanax just in case I'm feeling anxious. I don't bring Azo with me anymore. I don't have as needed meds outside of Xanax, so that's a good thing. I will bring my fire crotch balm with me still, just in case I have a little burny feeling when I'm traveling. So things have been going really well. So let me kind of give you the rundown of this past year, because I have a lot of things I want to mention and I don't want to miss anything. But if you are looking for day-to-day updates, or just, you want to see my face a little more, because why would you not? I'm really fun and entertaining, I like to think. But make sure to follow me on social media. I'm at Callie K Nutrition on Instagram and TikTok. I recently reached 30,000 followers on TikTok, so I'm really pumped about that. That is a result of posting 4 to 5 videos every single day for the past year, 2 years. So paid off finally. But I am still going to pelvic floor physical therapy once a month. And that is still really helpful because she does about 20 to 25 minutes of internal manual therapy. So that, I always feel super loosey-goosey when I leave. I always make that joke, but I really do feel good when I leave PT. And something that's come up a lot in my comments on social media is people saying, well, what if PT flares me? Well, I did an episode with Nicole Cozine on what happens in that case. I also did a live with my friend Lauren, who is a PT, and she, if you want me to send you that link, just send me a DM on Instagram, but she said that if you are really sensitive, or if your pelvic floor physical therapist does too much, uses too much pressure, or does it for too long, that can flare you. So that is a really important conversation to have with your pelvic floor physical therapist instead of just giving up. And if they are not fully hearing you and it keeps happening, look for someone else. We want to maintain that good, trusting relationship because it is such an intimate thing. So I'm still going to PT once a month. I am using my pelvic wand pretty much on a daily basis. And when people ask me what has been the most helpful thing for you to get relief from your symptoms, like, that is it. I am using that wand consistently. I didn't notice significant relief from my symptoms until I started using that wand consistently, despite going to PT. Okay, that for me was huge. I will do it for anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes, just depends on the day. And I've built that into my daily regimen. I will work out, I'll shower, and then I will use my pelvic wand. Like, it is in the daily agenda every single day. And if I miss a day, it's okay. I don't have symptoms. I actually recently didn't do it for 3 days and I was fine. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of pelvic floor. I recently considered getting pelvic floor Botox again, but I don't think that, well, this is a multi-factorial type situation because, one, my insurance doesn't cover it, so it was going to be over $1,000, and two, my pelvic floor dysfunction really stems from my nervous system. So I have been focusing all my efforts on regulating my nervous system. And so a lot of people tend to ask me, what kind of things are you doing for your nervous system? And the one thing that I've been really consistent with lately has been Curable. So I'm going to share a link in the show notes for 6 weeks free of Curable. It's an app. It is fantastic. Whether you're new to the nervous system work or if you are a seasoned veteran, like, I really love it. So that is something I've been using. You can do brain retraining on there. You can do meditations, writing exercises. Can't say enough good things about Curable. Also, in addition to that, I am doing daily meditations. I'm trying to do more breathing. And something that recently came up for me, because I'm someone who used to be so skeptical about breathing and meditation. Like, I did not believe that it helped regulate my nervous system. I'm someone who, if I don't see results immediately, I'm not going to do something, which I know I need to work on that. But I have been seeing 3 different therapists lately. So I have my regular therapist who I've been seeing for 6 years. I have a sex therapist that I'm seeing, and then I also have an EMDR therapist. So this is a specific type of therapy that uses eye movement, and I'm actually seeing her for emetophobia. Apparently it is a good type of therapy for phobias, so that's what I'm doing. But my point in bringing that up is that every time we have a session before we go into the eye movement, she will have me do a grounding exercise and have me do a bunch of deep breaths and really blowing that air out. And there was one day where I was so incredibly anxious going into it, and she had me do those breathing exercises, and I immediately felt a difference. I felt less anxious, and I had this light bulb moment of like, oh my God, that actually worked. Like the skeptic in me was like, did that just happen? Like, so that was really the thing that got me to continue being consistent with these breathing exercises. So yeah, in terms of therapy, because I know people want to hear about my experience with all of these therapies. Specifically, people want to hear about sex therapy, so I'll dive into that. But in regular therapy, you know, I'm talking about my day-to-day issues. Maybe there's something going on in my relationship. Maybe there's something coming up that I need to talk through, or digging into my past. It's always different. And I see her every other week usually. So that's a twice a month thing. Insurance covers it, which is pretty sweet. Insurance also covers the EMDR therapy. So I think I'm paying $20 for each of those visits. And I try to do EMDR every week. And it's a really interesting experience. And I know a lot of people who, or not a lot, but a couple people who are doing it for just their chronic pain, their IC. So I'm not like an expert in it whatsoever, but I do know that there is a lot of research on it. So if you are interested in learning more, you know, do some research, see if it could be right for you. Now, in terms of the sex therapy, so I previously did sex therapy maybe a year and a half ago. And that's because I suffer from low libido. I just have minimal sex drive. And as someone that's in a 5+ year relationship, that can obviously cause issues. Luckily, my boyfriend is really understanding. We work together through things, but it is something that does weigh heavily on me and leaves me feeling guilty. So that's why I initially started sex therapy, and I was with a therapist that I didn't fully feel comfortable opening up to. So I feel like it wasn't the right fit the first time around. So she left her practice, and I took about a year off from sex therapy. And then recently I went to see my IC doctor, and he brought up that he met a sex therapist in the area. I'm in the Lehigh Valley area in Pennsylvania, and he was like, yeah, she's great. You should give her a try. You know, this is something that it's not going to go away if you don't work through these issues. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. And so I started, her name is Sarah. I started with Sarah about 2 to 3 months ago. And it's a bit overwhelming at first, because when you start with a new therapist, you kind of have to give them your whole life story, or at least you feel like you have to give them your whole life story. So I was going through everything, trying to hit like childhood, growing up, teenage years, you know, adulthood, and then also peppering in my issues with IC and my bladder. So each week with her, and we go either every week or every other week. It just depends how much I feel I need it, but we go through everything. Like 1 week we'll dive into my young childhood and like growing up with my parents and my relationship with them and my relationship with my brother. And then the next week we'll talk about like high school and college years and the relationships that I've been in and what went well or how I acted in those relationships. And a lot of the time we'll talk about how I feel in my current relationship and my concerns. And I am an avoidant attachment style, if you're familiar with attachment styles, which can be problematic. So that's something that I am working through. But we're noticing in all of my therapy sessions, we're noticing that there are general themes of perfectionism and wanting to be in control or needing to be in control. And that's just manifesting in so many different ways in my life and, you know, my nervous system. That's a textbook example of being stuck in fight or flight. So it's really interesting what I'm uncovering during therapy. The sex therapy is not covered by insurance, so I'm paying, I think, $150 every visit. So if you kind of add that up, if I'm going twice a month, that's like $300, and then my other therapies will just round it up to maybe like 80-ish. So that's actually maybe more than that. So we'll say like $400 to $500 a month on therapy alone, which it sounds like a lot. You might be thinking like, Callie, you're seeing 3 different therapists. That's overkill. But for me, it's worth it. I'm such a huge believer in investing in yourself, investing in your health. This is improving my life in so many different ways, and I would just highly recommend therapy to anybody. I think if you have the means to do it, especially if your insurance covers it, try it out, go for it. It's so empowering, and I always feel when I go into sessions, I'll kind of dread it, but then when I'm done, I feel so good. I feel liberated. So, give it a shot. Okay, so I'm kind of going down a list of things I want to talk about with you guys. The next thing, a pretty major thing was I went off a couple of my medications about 5 to 6 months ago. So I used to be taking gabapentin, 1,200 milligrams every day at night. And I didn't think it was helping me. So I actually went cold turkey. I went off it one day, and apparently you're not supposed to do that. So if you're thinking about going off gabapentin, talk to your doctor, please, because luckily nothing happened to me, but I've heard some adverse reactions to doing that. I believe you need to taper off that med. So don't learn from me. Don't do what I did. I also decreased my dosage of Zoloft to 50 milligrams. I was on 100, and I wanted to get off my meds. Like I just got sick of taking meds every single night, and I would travel and then I'd forget them, and then I'd have to go to a pharmacy that isn't familiar to me. Like it just was a hassle. And I always wondered, what side effects am I getting? How is this impacting me? How would I feel off of these meds? I just was really curious. So I decreased that Zoloft, and I was okay for a while. I felt pretty much the same, and I thought I was doing well. And then about a month ago, I had a bit of a emetophobia trigger that kind of made me spiral, and I started to freak out because usually when I get anxiety, I'll get anxiety for 30 minutes, let's say, and it'll go away and I'll feel better. Maybe I need to take Xanax, but I always feel better. But for about 3 to 4 days, I just felt like 100% anxiety. It just did not let up, and it freaked me out. And I was actually traveling at the time. I had to go to Tennessee, and then I had to go to California, and there was just a lot happening. So I ended up having to take a lot of Xanax on those trips, which I don't like doing. And after that, I made the decision to just go back on or increase my dose to 100 milligrams of Zoloft again. And there was a second where I started to feel like I was a failure because my goal was to go off that medication. But I decided I'm going to give myself grace. If I need this right now, okay, I need it. Like, it's not the end of the world. I'm giving my body what it needs. And if in the future I can go off of it, great. If I can't, I'll deal with it. So that's where I'm at in terms of the anxiety and the Zoloft. And then I had been on birth control since I was a sophomore in high school. And I went on it because I had really heavy and painful periods. I feel like everybody went on for that reason back in high school. At least my friends did. And I was on the same birth control for when I was a sophomore, I was like 16 until age 28. So I was on birth control for 12 years. And I started hearing things about how birth control may not be good for you. I just did a lot of research, and I'm not going to get into it, but I wanted to see how my body reacted off of this medication, off of the birth control. I also, low libido is a side effect of some of these medications that I'm on, especially the Zoloft I was curious about. But birth control, I had always heard people going off birth control and their sex drive is through the roof. So I was like, okay, I would love for that to happen. Let's just try it out. So what I did was I told my gynecologist, I want to go off birth control. What do you recommend? Do I just go cold turkey? And they were like, yeah, you just stop taking it. And so I stopped taking it. I started seed cycling, which is kind of a controversial topic or thing to do, but I do feel like it helped me. I was worried that my periods were going to be heavy and painful like they were when I was 16, but they were not. They're actually like 1 to 2 days long, and I'll get cramps on the first day, and that's pretty much it. So when I went off of birth control, I was seed cycling, so I was getting those nutrients. If you don't know what seed cycling is, we did an episode on it, I think in season 2 with a hormone dietitian, so go check that out. I have some clients doing it who feel like it helps them with their hormonal flares, but I was doing that, and I also started taking some supplements, and I'm not a supplement girly. I'm terrible at being consistent. So for a while I was taking magnesium, I was taking fish oil, I was taking, there was a brand that sent me, I think it's called Turn Health. They sent me a combination supplement that just had a bunch of things that were good for hormone health in it. So I was taking that, and I was just really trying to optimize my nutrition. And I was feeling really good. And I believe that the seed cycling actually improved my bowel movements as well because of the seeds. I mean, great fiber, just packed with really good vitamins and minerals. So I have had a good experience with that. However, I've been traveling a ton this summer, and I kind of fell off with seed cycling, and I need to get back on. I also experimented with period cups. So I got sent a free period cup from Salt. The company is SAALT. That's how you spell it. And I was always curious because, tampons versus period cups, could it save me money? Okay, can I wear it longer throughout the day? Yes. So I tried that for a few of my periods, and I thought it was interesting. It was kind of convenient to not have to change a tampon as much, but I did have issues getting it out, and people were telling me to be careful about the suction and how it could potentially cause prolapse. So I'm not sure if that's a proven thing or something people are researching, but kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I haven't done it in a few months. But I would love, if you have a good period cup experience, reach out to me, let me know, because I am kind of curious what people are thinking. So I went off that birth control, and you might be thinking, okay, do you have birth control now? Like, what are you doing to not get pregnant? Well, I purchased an Oura ring. I got the silver Oura ring. They have a lot of different, silver, gold, whatever. I am a gold girly, but I didn't know that I was going to like it. And gold was like $100 more than silver. So I ended up getting silver because I just wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I didn't want to spend, it's like $400+ for the gold ring. So I wanted to get the cheapest version just in case I didn't like it. So I've been using the Oura ring. If you're not familiar with it, it tracks a lot of stuff. It tracks your sleep, it tracks your heart rate, your stress, your temperature, things like that. I connected the Oura Ring to the Natural Cycles app. And I think that's like a monthly fee that you pay. I don't know how much it is, but it essentially tracks your menstrual cycle for you. It connects with the temperature check that your Oura Ring does. And this thing is pretty accurate. I mean, it'll be like, your period is coming up on this day. And I'll be like, oh, that sounds a little early. And then I'll get my period on that day. And I'm like, dang, how does it do this? But yeah, and I think to make your, like, the algorithm work better, you can do like LH strips that you buy at the pharmacy or whatever, but I actually have not done that. I've been wanting to do it. I just can't remember to buy the strips. So that's what I am doing. And yeah, it tells you when you're fertile and when you're not fertile, so you can kind of navigate that if you are having sex. So that is the update on the medications. That's the update on birth control, all of that. I also, 2-ish months ago, got Botox injections in my jaw, so my masseter muscles, because I'm someone that struggles so hard with nighttime grinding, or bruxism as they call it. And obviously that's something you can't control, but it really was starting to take a toll on my teeth, because I have incredibly sensitive teeth. My doctor, or my dentist, is like, your teeth are getting really worn down. I started to like knock some of my fillings out, which is alarming. We don't want that to happen. And I ended up needing 2 root canals back to back. And it was absolutely terrible. No, it wasn't that bad. It's just terrible on the wallet. Each root canal was like over $1,000. So, I wanted to see, this is a treatment that is up and coming for bruxism, or grinding at night. And I wanted to see if it could help. And so my dentist put 20 units into each side of my jaw, so the masseter muscles, and I'm not honestly sure. I think it's helping a little bit, and the 20 units is the lower end of what they can do. He said you can go up to like 40, I think. So he was like, we're gonna start with the smallest amount, and then if you need more, we can do more. And yeah, so I think it's been helping a little bit. The only thing I'm noticing is that when I chew something that requires, more muscle, my muscles do get fatigued a lot sooner. They get like exhausted very quickly. And another thing that I notice is when I've recently had a photo shoot and I had to smile a lot for that. And I found myself like struggling to smile for longer than like 10 seconds. So just a few weird things that I wasn't quite expecting, but I'm gonna meet with him again in the next few months, and maybe we will try more next time. I think it lasts around 6 months or so. So we shall see. I also was curious because there is a link between your jaw and your pelvic floor that we talked about on a previous episode this season, where a lot of people with TMJ also have pelvic floor dysfunction and vice versa. So a lot of you told me that you struggle with TMJ. And this is something that I just thought going into it, like maybe this Botox in my jaw will help my pelvic floor. So that, I don't know. I do think my pelvic floor has been better recently, but I don't know that it's enough to be like, yes, it was that. So, if you're someone out there who's had Botox in your pelvic floor, think about, did it help your TMJ? If you have TMJ, I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep you all updated on that. And then another thing, this actually happened recently. So I'm recording this, it's right after the 4th of July. So I was diagnosed with bacterial vaginosis, and I'm going to give you the full story. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but About a week or two ago, I was having sex with my boyfriend. If this is TMI for you, sorry, it's not. We're trying to be more open with our conversations here. So in the middle of that, he was like, there's some blood, you know. And he's the type of guy who gets woozy when he sees blood. So I was like, okay, like, let's stop. Let me go clean up. And I was like, this is the first time this has happened to me. I've never bled during sex, like, a significant amount. I do have issues with my Bartholin gland that I had a surgery for, and sometimes it does act up and have some weird stuff going on with it, which could include blood. So I just was like, okay, that's weird, but I'm gonna just wait and see if it happens again. And the few days following that, I kept having this bleeding occur, and I thought, it's got to be my Bartholin gland. Like, it's probably just acting up. So I texted my doctor and I was like, hey, this is happening. You know, can I come in? And she was like, yeah, we can definitely take a look. And when I went in, she was like, I really don't think it's coming from your gland. It looks like it's coming from your cervix. So I was like, okay, well, what the heck does that mean? Like, I know that something's not right. You know, I've been having, in addition to that bleeding, I also noticed a smell to my discharge recently. And I just knew in my gut that something wasn't right. I was like, there's got to be some sort of infection here. So she actually, I didn't get the vibe that she was going to do any sort of culture or anything. And I actually had to push for that. I was like, can you culture it so we can see if there's an infection? And she was like, yeah, we can do that. Sweet. I wish you would have recommended us do that, but okay. We love advocating. And after I went home, this was the weekend of my best friend's wedding, and it was the day before the wedding, so the rehearsal day. I was in the wedding, and I texted my cousin. It's actually my best friend's cousin, but I call her my cousin. She is a nurse practitioner, and I was like, hey, these are my symptoms. You know, what do you think? And she was like, well, first thing I would have you do is take a pregnancy test just to make sure it's not implantation bleeding. And I swear to you, I went straight into fight or flight. I was panicking. It was crazy. So, and I immediately went into denial. I was like, nope, I can't be pregnant. This isn't possible. Like, no. I'm not ready to be a mother. But then in the back of my head, I was like, I did have sex this month. Like, it's possible. So I went to the rehearsal. I was freaking out internally the whole time. And then I went to her house to take a pregnancy test. And it was negative. Thank God. And then after that, we were just kind of like, well, could it be, like, what could it be? We went through the possibilities. Maybe there was a cut inside of my vaginal canal. Like, maybe there was something that happened during sex that made it bleed. And then I did some research and I found cervicitis, which apparently, you know, it's a possibility. And then when I was doing this research, I had a text come through, and this was at this time, the day of the wedding. And we were getting ready in the bridal suite, and I was on my phone kind of doing a little bit of research because I still was like, what the heck is going on? And I got a text that came through from my doctor saying that my labs came back for positive for bacterial vaginosis. And I had always had this thought that I could have bacterial vaginosis because they always say, you know, you have weird discharge, it smells, blah, blah, blah. And it definitely aligned with what I was experiencing. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then I was looking at cervicitis, and it says that one of the causes of that can be bacterial vaginosis. So I asked my doctor, could it be this? She was like, yeah, it could be, but, you know, we probably won't know. And I started taking Flagyl, which is an antibiotic, and I've been on it for a few days now, and the bleeding stopped a few days ago. So who knows? Who the heck knows what happened there? But luckily it stopped Luckily, I'm getting this treated. I will definitely keep you guys updated on how things are going with BV. And I'm finding out that a lot of people have this. This is fairly common. So, yeah, that's my story with that. So I think that's pretty much everything that's been going on the past year or so. Professionally, I mean, Road to Remission, the program is just growing and growing. Our community is fantastic. You know, if you want to learn more, just head to the link in the show notes. Back in early 2024, I went to ICA Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C. with the board of directors of the IC Association, and that was really cool. I got to meet some doctors, some IC warriors in person. So yeah, that was really awesome. Just working behind the scenes to develop a new offer for people with overactive bladder. So that's something that's coming. And yeah, I mean, working with my Road to Remission clients, I'm just noticing how common nervous system dysregulation is. Like, the majority of my clients are struggling with it, and once they start to work on those regulation practices, they notice their bladder symptoms either completely disappearing or just getting significant relief. So that's probably the number one root cause I'm seeing among my clients. And then the second one is pelvic floor dysfunction. Lots of people, you know, they don't have experiences with pelvic floor PT, or maybe they haven't even been referred to it yet. So that is something, if you haven't tried it or had a bad experience, just try it. Try it with someone else. You got to find the right person. Maybe you need to do a little bit more on your own. Maybe you need a pelvic wand or a dilator. You know, ask your pelvic floor physical therapist about that. But really, guys, you need to push for answers. You need to push for the best care. And that starts with being educated, you know, getting as much knowledge as you can on IC, what's available to you. Get educated on your nervous system. When people say, you know, it's due to your stress and anxiety, we're not saying it's in your head at all. But pain and frequency and urgency, these symptoms do originate from your brain and your nervous system. So if you really dive into that research and that education, start with Curable. It's really a great place to begin. Another really good resource is the book The Way Out by Alan Gordon. I think it's phenomenal, and it's a really easy read. You could even listen on audiobook. So that's a really good resource as well. And then there's podcasts out there, and there's Instagram accounts. There's a lot of nervous system therapists like Grace, who my clients work with in Road to Remission. Great podcast that she has. She puts out a lot of really good content. So her Instagram handle is heal.with.grace, and then her podcast is Heal with Grace. So these are just some tools that you can utilize, but really you need to find what works best for you. You need to get that individualized approach to your IC. There is no cookie cutter approach, and that is why we personalize our process inside Road to Remission to every single one of our clients, because everybody's different. You have different symptoms. You respond differently to treatments. You have different triggers, different overlapping conditions. Like, it's just, you are unique, and you need an approach that is tailored to you. So what we do in Road to Remission is we're aiming to get you relief in 3 months by identifying your root cause. And our approach we use is a combination of nutrition, education, and support. So we essentially would lead you through an elimination diet, because that is a great place to start to figure out, are you diet sensitive or are you not? Help you build up confidence with eating, get more foods back in your diet. I swear, you guys, most of my clients aren't diet sensitive at all. It's actually insane, because most of us are told, stop eating these foods. You know, these are bad, quote unquote bad. And it's really becoming a problem. There's so much food fear. It really is sad to me. And one of my goals is to help people enjoy eating again. So we're helping our clients build up confidence and getting more variety back in their diet so they can be nourished, have energy, to live their best life. So we lead them through an elimination diet, and then we also have a really comprehensive education component to the program. So we have an education vault that contains like over 20 hours of education, teaches you about topics related to IC, either taught by myself, my support dietitian Beverly, or a guest expert. So for example, we just had a pelvic floor physical therapist teach a class on how to use a pelvic wand and pelvic dilator. We had an eating disorder dietitian come in and give a class on food fear, how to overcome food fear. We had another PT come in to give a class on bladder training. So like we have a lot of different resources for you to use so you can get that much closer to relief. And then the last component of the program is community. So I just think that support is huge on your IC journey. I had no support growing up with this. Never had support until like 2 years ago when I really dove into this community. And you can feel so alone, so isolated. It's really a shame. And once you meet other people experiencing what you are who can relate, you're like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Like it's really comforting and liberating to be able to see and hear other people's experiences. So we have 2 group coaching calls each week where our clients can just talk to one another, share their experiences, share any obstacles or hardships they're facing. If someone goes through a flare, we can help them talk through it, help them find different solutions and overcome that ultimately. So it's a really great group of women from all over the world. It's just phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I created the program. We really do have amazing people that are supportive and they build each other up and they're just so encouraging. So if you're interested in joining Road to Remission, the link is in the show notes. We are constantly accepting new clients unless every month we have a limit for how many people we can take. So just check in with me if you're not sure, but yeah, we would love to help you get relief in the next 3 months so that you can enjoy, the fall that's coming up. The holiday season will be right around the corner. So we are here for you if you need us. Other resources I have besides this podcast, we have the IC Collective, which has a big education component to it and a community. I have my Intro to IC mini course if you're new to IC and just want to get the basics down. I also have a blog that we write about a variety of topics. I share lots of free recipes in there, so that's cool. I have lots of e-cookbooks and meal plans on my website if you're interested in those. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, my social media is always there. If you're interested in working together or have questions about any of my offers, just send me a DM. I would love to talk to you. But yeah, this is my update. This is, again, going to be the last episode of season 3. If you guys have any guests that you want to see on season 4, please let me know. I'm planning it right now. We're hoping to get more. We're going to do more guests. We're going to do IC warriors sharing their stories, and I'm going to try to do a few more solo episodes here and there. So that is what we have planned, and I really hope that this podcast is helping you. Please reach out. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. Don't hurt my feelings. Don't say it in a mean way, but I do really enjoy recording these episodes for you, and I do know that this podcast helps a lot of people. So if it's helped you, please share it with other people. I'm not allowed to share this podcast on like any of the Facebook support groups, so it's really hard for me to get the word out about it. So if someone's struggling, share an episode with them. Another thing that you can do to show your appreciation is leave a 5-star review and rating. That really goes a long way. It helps me rank in like iTunes or Spotify and helps us get guests. So those are the things that you can do to show appreciation. But just know that I appreciate you being here. If you need anything from me, please reach out. I always love talking to you guys. And again, hope you have a great rest of your summer, and I will see you in the fall.